Well, this is exciting for me because I have a little reunion up here of Havas people. I had the pleasure of working with Pattie and Jade when I started my career at Havas. Alex, you can stay up here, I guess. You had a little overlap at Arnold, so right above us, so we'll let it slide. But I think first and foremost, what I wanted to start the conversation off with was a very hot topic in digital marketing, and goes by the acronym AI. And obviously AI has had its fingerprints all over digital marketing for a while now, but next generation AI, generative AI, has really burst on the scene the last year or so. And I'd love to get a perspective from Pattie on this, Fran's side, of just right now, how are you using AI to kind of help move Welch's along and just to the betterment of your brand?
It can be overwhelming, I think, to think about all the ways you could leverage AI, and you're hearing something new every day. But for us, aside from agility and speed, which we know it will help us with in the long term, one way that we're starting to look at AI is to work to see how it can help us build more predictive and smarter planning processes. So just for some context, there's a couple other CPG brands in the room, but for CPG, especially grocery CPG, we haven't had any access to measurable or attributable data ever until the last few years. So, thanks to click and collect online grocery platforms, to retailer media, which a lot of times I don't think retailer media for many other reasons, we actually have a glimpse into what our media is doing and a return that we're getting from every media investment. So that's great, but it also makes us even hungrier, and our senior leadership hungrier for more. So when we show a attributed sale or a return on ad spend, they want to dig deeper, and then they want it for the whole plan, right? So one way that we're working with AI is to, we have mini AI models that basically ingest our data that we have for in-store as well as click and collect, to basically use that as the foundation, but overlay things like promotional activity in store and our media activity, to start to learn and get smarter about the impact of every media dollar. So mostly we're using this as predictive to help assure, as we may have more marketing funds to invest, that we feel that this will give us a return. It's not a magic formula, and I think it's important to note that AI, we don't expect this tool to really, give us the next innovative idea. However, the goal is that it would help us know how much to allocate towards one of those when they come out, right? So it's a predictor, and it's been really helpful for us so far. We're on a roll, so it's as we ramp back up in spending and investing against our brand, it's learning every campaign, so that every time we wrap up, we look again and we start to interrogate the model to see if it's something that delivered on what our goals are. And where the differences are is where we optimize.
Awesome. Thanks, Pattie. So, right, that's kind of how you're using it now. And I kind of want to switch over and go get a different perspective on one, right, AI is going to be expected to radically change digital marketing 3 to 5 years and so on. But Jade, kind of where do you sit? Are you an optimist? Are you a skeptic? And love it. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on AI and whether you think it's going to make innovative ways of how to approach marketing.
Yeah, I actually do, and we talked about this in our pep call a little bit with big data. And so something Pattie, you had said that Welch has a lot of data, and AI is really helping you guys process that at a much faster pace and make quicker decisions. So from that standpoint, I think we'll see that across the board. But I also think just the personalization of messaging and being able to better target consumers, I think there's a lot of opportunity there within AI. But one of the things that we also talk a lot about in AI is awesome. I think it will change a lot of what we do for the better. But at the end of the day, it is not a replacement for humans, right? There always has to be this art and science formula for any of the campaigns that we do. So I think it's just finding that balance between the two.
Love that. Yeah, keeping that common sense kind of goes back to a lot of the themes from Topgolf, New Balance, everything, Liberty Mutual. So we'll shift a little bit to the next question, which is still kind of in the vein of generative AI. And that's kind of the social media advertising versus brand safety battle that's kind of going on right now. And it's very easy to create false content, and there's a lot of misinformation. It seems like everyone is pretty aware of that, and it's easy to have your brand associate and align with misinformation. So my question will be for Mr. MassMutual over here. Is there a way that brands can prioritize so that consumers are not associating your brand with harmful content? Is there a solution?
So this is why I'm a bit of a, can you hear me okay? Excellent. This is why I've been a bit of a pessimist when it comes to AI and the rapid expansion of media that's out there, misinformation that's out there. Brands frankly can't keep up. We can't keep up, and we're not going to pretend that we can or that we have some silver bullet. So hopefully I give you all a little bit of solace when I get up here and say that it's really hard and we're all well behind where we should be. You just saw the brand suitability story come out from the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal that was based on another study done that, we're showing up in places that are kids-only content. We're showing up in these billions upon billions of hours that are uploaded on YouTube and other channels that we have no ability to really protect ourselves from. So there's this huge downside risk to the proliferation of content that we're dealing with, and it's frustrating, and it's hard, and it's requiring us to have a lot of tough conversations with our media partners, with our agency partners, that nobody seems to have a solution for. So it's put us in this place of almost reverting back a little bit and narrowing down what we're willing to advertise on, who we're willing to advertise with, and really just slowing down, right? Letting other people move really quickly and make those mistakes, and then learning from those and waiting for the technology to catch up. And so, it's put us in a bind, and it's deepened some of our relationships with partners, and it's frankly fractured some other relationships with partners where they aren't giving us the solutions that we need. And that's been really challenging. I know a lot of brands left X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Some have returned, some haven't, but that's just a microcosm of the challenge that AI presents across all digital advertising. So no short answer, but it's definitely made me annoyed on more than one occasion, and I think it'll continue to be so.
Yeah, I love that answer. Jade, if you have something to add.
Yeah, so opposites attract, but maybe this is why I'm on the agency side and used to talking clients off the ledge a little bit. But I think that, listen, there's always some inherent risk in social media. That's just the world we live in. It's never going to be foolproof. However, there are now newer technologies coming out to help with brand safety, though slow development in those. So good business idea for anybody. But slow development, they are coming out to help with brand safety. And I also think brands need to really look at what their risk appetite is, right? And then have really good social policies, guardrails, have somebody monitoring your social accounts to make sure they're responding accordingly. I think that it's not, I do not feel it's as dire as
It's terrible.
Alex is. But again, different perspective, agency client. But I do think that, soon we will have more brand safety measures in place that we want to. But it's really about the risk tolerance.
Love that. Love how we had a little juxtaposition there, but as to be expected.
I think I'm in the middle.
Perfect. No, that's great. We can move away from the doomsday existential crisis that AI presents. Want to shift a little bit more to some trends. So I think we're all familiar with the trends in linear TV and CTV consumption. Obviously, CTV is growing at a clip where it's being consumed more than mobile and desktop at this point. So I'd like to hear, again, I'd like to start on the brand side, and just understand from a market perspective how you guys shifting your budget allocations, your channel mix, to keep up with those trends. If there's something specific that you guys are doing from a CTV standpoint.
Please.
Right, so, we had and when we were talking and prepping, we were talking about our backgrounds and, I think in a little bit, I started in broadcast buying actually on the agency side, so, literally filling CPM binders and upfronts and, and all that. So I have a deep respect for linear TV. I will say that for Welch's, as we continue to try to modernize this brand, we're over 150 years old, right? We can't afford the chance that we're in someone's living room, but they're not paying attention, or it's not part of our growth consumer. So for us, connected TV allows us to be a lot more purposeful with a big, bold, bright messaging that's right in her living room. So I think Taylor talked about being in someone's living room. I think that is something that we know we have a captive audience, and being able to infuse things, again, I'm going to say retailer media, but there are a lot of pipes being connected now through connected TV, so that we're looking at advanced purchase behavior signals to understand that this is the person that, will walk by Welch's or seek out Welch's and put it in her basket, whether it's online or in the store. So, I think at this point, linear TV definitely has a place in the marketing mix and media mix for sure. For Welch's, it's something that we'll explore in the future as we really drive that relevance, and we have that relevance already, so that we can feel assured that when we're there, it's something that's recognizable and relevant when we start to enter that space again.
So when Pattie and I chatted, we had a laugh because I came up as a digital media buyer and always loved the efficiency and the targeting and the availability. And now we're seeing a shift with CTV and a lot of this where we're going to upfronts all of a sudden. And we're buying on an annual basis at a fixed CPM. And I feel like, did we lose what made digital so special in the first place? Obviously we fully haven't, but there's this blending that's been a long time coming that's necessary, where linear and CTV, they should play together. And there should be connection between the two. And the ability to take things like linear retargeting and chase frequency on connected TV devices after you've been exposed in, say, live sports, which is a great opportunity still in linear to reach a mass audience, has been really powerful for our brand, right? The ability to continue to find efficiency and build that targeting in, but recognize that we still have to reach all Americans. That's our goal, right? And to help as many people as possible with our products. So we have blended our buying teams. We do have digital working with traditional and traditional with digital. And I still don't like the upfronts. I still don't think that's the best use of my time or our company's resources, but I do recognize the value of linear, and I do see the more digital targeting we can get, the better we get there, all the way upstream with radio, with connected TV, OTT, everything, the better we'll be as an industry. So there's a lot of improvements that have been made, and there's still opportunity for both sets of traditional and digital.
Great. Yeah, we always find ways to complicate things, right? Yeah, I think to round that out, Jade, just from a brand client perspective, who you guys deal with, have you seen any pushback going from linear TV to CTV? What are some of the trends that you've seen just at Media?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that linear TV will always serve a really important purpose for a lot of my clients, especially those lean-in moments, those live sports moments. Like those will always remain tentpole events for us. But to Alex's point, like we do want more accountability, and CTV is that allows us that accountability, and I think our clients are craving that and wanting something more measurable a little bit quicker than needed flow for TV. So we find that balance for all of our clients. There are a lot of clients that we have that are huge TV spenders, and they always will be, and that is awesome. But then we also work with a lot that it's a balance, right? Let's do the big mass, reach the movement events, but let's also do more accountable TV as well.
Great. Thanks, guys. Sticking with trends, we're going to shift to digital out of home. And just to throw a few numbers at you guys. So in 2022, digital out of home global market value was at about $18 billion. In and in 2030 it's supposed to get to about 57 billion. So it's about 200+% increase. I did some back of the napkin math, so it all checks out. But I'd like to start with Jade and just understand, what are some of the pros that you see in digital out of home, and how do you kind of again go back to instructing and recommending that channel for clients that are more in the traditional space from an out of home standpoint?
Yeah, so I think one of the big pros, and I love out of home, by the way, I just think it's such a fun medium to play in. Talk about our check. Yeah.
I don't think the mic is working.
Roll it across the
Better?
Yes.
So I was saying that I love the out of home. I kind of geek out with the out of home opportunities. I think for digital out of home, one of the greatest benefits is the personalization that it enables you. Again, it's going back to the real-time, more accountable channel. And then also the contextual targeting, right? You can be really, really relevant with digital out of home. And I think those are two huge benefits, and that's a lot about what we talk to our clients. We still have clients that love their big board on 93 so that all the executives can drive by and see it and feel good. But I think, going back to the beginning with AI, personalization, contextual targeting, all that stuff is really relevant. And clients are seeing a lot of benefits from that. And, it's also more real-time messaging. So instead of having a billboard that you can't change on a regular basis, this allows you to get more targeted and real-time messaging out there, which I think is important.
I'll just quickly say that my creative team is one of those teams that loves the billboards on 93. Since our Red Sox sponsorship that launched this year, we bought almost exclusively digital out of home, and it's given the creative team the ability to flex and change the message, right? We've kept the same creative chassis, but we're continually updating with summer, into fall, and all of these different messages, depending on how the team's doing, how we think the mood of the fan base has been. It's been more of a creative exercise. I wish I could prove some more value than we've been able to suss out of it thus far, but it is a heck of a lot of fun to drive on 90 and oh, we've changed the sign again, excellent. So it gives creative teams a ton of opportunity, and any copywriters, they just absolutely love writing lines. So here you go, there's your white space, go play.
Yeah, and just one other point.
In terms of accountability and measurement, we still have a long way to go with measurement in out of home, but we are seeing more and more companies come out with studies, whether it's brand lift or measuring in-store traffic or lift based on the boards that we've seen. But it's still a long way to go, so I think.
Tell what you did.
So I think for out of home, for us as a brand, we kind of probably realizing it's not going to be the first channel we go to, right? More because we don't have that measurability and that direct connection. A couple ways we've been exploring out of home has been definitely digital. Sometimes we have some innovation tests that come out, and so in pilot markets, we're able to get very small in terms of the radius and offer a QR code to find where the product is, right? Adoption to me that's still pretty low, but it's a good way to test and understand the direct relation to a store that is carrying this product that is nowhere else, and can somebody go find it? So I love the measurability. For out of home, for static too, I also love out of home. I always have. Back to I worked on Carnival Cruise Lines, and they did all this fun stuff, around New York and high impact. So, but for us, as we start to think about where our key markets are and our priority consumers are, we're going to continue to use that almost like, I guess, a linear TV, so I'm contradicting what I said, and doing those big, splashy, bold billboards on a major highway in Dallas, and saying, Texas, we're here, we have big taste, go find us. So I think it definitely has a role, but you announce what you want to announce. However, it's for us still, it's that extra layer of, I'll say, gravy or jelly.
Nice, well done. Even that audience capture capability is something there, even if it's 20 downloads of your QR code, right? So, but no, that's great. The next thing I wanted to shift to was just, I think we can all relate to it, is just economic uncertainty. 2023, right? There's interest rates continue to climb. Just from a consumer standpoint, sales prices, right? I feel like every time I go to the grocery store, an avocado costs double what it cost a week ago. So I'd like to start with you, Pattie, on economic uncertainty and just, are you seeing consumers focus more on the, leaning more into value over brand loyalty? Where does quality versus value come into play for you guys? Is that something that you guys are mindful of?
Yes, I mean, how can we not be, right? I think the key point though is defining what value really means for consumers. So for us, when we think about value, it's really quality and is it worth it for what somebody's going to pay to put it in their basket. So, one thing that I think that we're seeing after these last few years of hell is that people are really prioritizing the indulgences. It's not that they're walking away from them completely, but they're being very selective. And that's most cases, not all. There are certain situations where, of course, price and discounts matter. But for us, and as we've established our core positioning as a brand, staying true to that and delivering that quality and value being worth it is going to be the most important. So, because if you don't have that, and if you're not consistent with that, doesn't matter. Brand loyalty goes out the window, and you're just talking to no one because they're not going to come back and buy more, or tell their friend and tell their mom friend, like, hey, did you try this recipe with our spreads or something like that, like a different way to make peanut butter and jelly. So so for us, value is really, I would say, quality versus being inexpensive. It's a huge thing to follow. I mean, and I think, I'm not in a place where I can say too much yet, but hopefully you're seeing some new messaging out there from Welch's where we're really focusing on what those benefits are to the consumer, and making that be like what we say first, and then then we keep bringing them back with a discount or a coupon or things like that, but that's what we're doing.
So we work in the financial services space, and we sell things like life insurance, annuities, wealth management, planning, trusts. So economic uncertainty, it's top of mind, right? We get emails every day that talk about the markets. We have experts on staff who are constantly informing us, and that's our whole business model. Interest rates help us make money, but make our consumers more comfortable. So we live in this world all of the time, but from a marketing perspective, it's weird to say that this uncertainty's created an opportunity for us, but it really did, in that we were able to finally get people to have uncomfortable conversations. And that's been our entire brand platform for the past few years, and will continue, is people don't like talking about their finances and their retirement and their insurance, and it's scary and it's annoying and it's uncomfortable. And so when there's uncertainty and people are really worried, you can actually look at them and say, hey, it's time to have that conversation. Let's do it. We can help. And so we leaned into it. We did it with humor, which again tries to diffuse a little bit of the stress and pressure that we're dealing with in the markets and with people's just general feeling. But it was incredibly successful in getting people to acknowledge that I don't have to avoid this topic. And actually now of all times, in a post-COVID world, and with interest rates being what they are, with inflationary periods being such, like we have to have those conversations now. So as a brand, we leaned into it a little bit and said, now's the time. Again, we'll make a joke about it, but then we'll show you who we are and we'll show you how we can help. And you'll be a little bit more comfortable having that conversation because you realize that the time is now and somebody's finally willing to call a spade in the room, right? Like we're not all rose-colored television commercials of people walking down the beach hand in hand, happy retirement, red convertibles. Like at some point it's like, you gotta figure out your retirement. You have to do it. And the markets are scary, so talk to somebody, talk to us. So it's been really interesting from a brand perspective, but from a business perspective, like huge risk to us at all times with these market changes. So we have to balance that.
Thanks, guys. I love that, Alex, taking advantage of kind of the time, not taking advantage, but the timing is everything, and having a clear strategy and leaning into that, I think is great from a human standpoint. I think that's great. I think we can squeeze in one last question, and it's focused on just kind of reaching our favorite audience, the Gen Zers. But obviously there's a lot of innovation that always happens, whether it's search, social, whatever is popping up that's new and innovative. So I guess I just wanted to get your thoughts on, and we can start with Jade. What have you kept your eye on from an innovative standpoint on ways to go after that audience and help out your client and the brands that you work on?
So I think what we're seeing a lot of, especially with the Gen Zers, is they really are attracted to brands that stand for something. And so that's where we try to focus on with a lot of our clients, right? Like, what do you stand for? What can we sell to this audience that's going to make them believe in your brand through tough economic times, through the good, through the bad? And something that we found that a lot of Gen Zers are really passionate about is sustainability. And so that's a hot topic for us and something that we are talking more and more to our clients, like how can you make your media more sustainable? How can your product be more sustainable? How can you marry those two worlds? And so I would say that's probably the big thing. What do brands stand for? Can I get behind that brand? And then in terms of just really tactical media placements, I think social shoppable videos is really hot. We're seeing a lot of positive results on those lately. And then I would say user-generated content, right? Giving the power back to the Gen Zers so that they can actually see themselves in that ad with that brand.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you just said. It'd be the cliche standard channels that you would recommend for Gen Z. We are seeing a ton of success on those channels. It's TikTok, it's influencers. It's definitely not Threads, sorry. Nice try, Zach. But to the point of authenticity, which nobody made, I just thought in my head and didn't tell anyone about, they do care what you stand for, and the way that we found that we can prove that is, we call it affinity content, but it's not just your brand 30s or 15s or your 36 if you want to be skippable on YouTube. It's what comes next. We talk a lot about sequencing and retargeting, and we share messages from our CEO, we share messages from our DEI team, we share messages from our business resource groups. We show who we are, we don't tell, and we do that over and over again, and we let people make their own decisions. The product information, the category information is there, the sales tactics are there when you're ready for them. We're just going to show you who we are over and over again and hope that you gravitate towards something. We're going to do that on spaces and places where you are. And we've had a lot of success with that, even affinity building happening before consideration building, which was a wild insight that we uncovered with that audience, but we've really leaned into it.
So for us, Gen Z has been eating our fruit snacks for a really long time, and now they have some more clout and skin in the game where they can start to buy the rest of our portfolio. And as we think about that, we're still starting out, right? Because we have some of this nostalgia. I think probably everyone in this room knows us for the full portfolio of our Welch's jams and jellies and juices. However, I agree with you that they care about what a brand stands for and being consistent in that messaging. So it might mean a tweak to copy. It'll definitely mean including some more TikTok, not Threads probably on a paid level yet. But it's about showing them again why we are worth it and how, and this is a teaser, how we can help them fruit stuff up. When they find Welch's in their store or online, and hopefully then we have this generation continue to buy us and feel the nostalgia again as they one day sit in this room or and are talking to the next group of upcoming 20-year-olds.
Gen A.
Yes.
They start over?
Gen A.
Double A.
You're right. Is there a double A? I know there's A. I think my kids are A.
All right, well, that's it. Those are all my questions. Thank you, guys. Round of applause. Good job.